Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Game News Roundup, a spoopy edition or something. It's Halloween. The time I'm recording of this, it is October 31st, 2022. Halloween. So yeah, I'm wearing an Assassin's Creed hoodie. We have a Ghost Xbox Series S below me. Woo! It's because Xbox official Twitter account tweeted that picture. I was like, I'm just gonna put it on there for the lulz, I guess. I don't know. If PlayStation or Nintendo did the same thing, there'd be a Ghost PS5 somewhere on the screen or a Ghost Switch on the screen as well. But all we got was the Ghost Series S, which I guess looks like a ghost. I'm looking at mine currently, and yeah, sure. I don't know. I guess it's fitting. So, anyways. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you enjoyed this, these are live stream, twitch.tv/TrunksWD. And as always, if you do enjoy these, hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. You know, the whole YouTube algorithm and all that stuff or something it helps the algorithm for YouTube to know, yes, people like the video. They leave it more comments. They're watching it longer and stuff and things. But yeah. So yeah, this is being recorded October 31st. I'm gonna keep it a little bit. I'm gonna keep it shorter today, but we shall see how much shorter this ends up being. But we're gonna go over some of the latest monthly sales comparison articles that I do. Well, each of them is done monthly. The last ones are for September. So yes, these are a month ago, but we usually lag behind by a couple weeks and whatnot. And there's so many of these to go through. But anyways. First one, PlayStation 5 versus the Xbox Series X and S launch line sales. The PS5 is tracking ahead of the Series X and S by 6.8 million units. PS5 in the latest month grew its lead by a little over 300,000. And the PS5 has grown its lead over the last 12 months by 1.68 million units. Now, generation over generation, actually I did post this in the comments. While the PS5 is tracking ahead of the Series X and S by 6.8 million. Looking at last generation, PS4 versus Xbox One after the same amount of months was ahead by nearly 13 million, 12.75 million units. So the gap is a little more than half of where it was last generation. And now, in fact, you can say if that continues, the gap is half of last generation. We're talking about like 70, 75 million, Series X and S sales, and a little over 100 million for the PS5 by the end of the generation, which I guess is plausible, but it's still early on, and with stock shortages still being thing, and then waiting for big games to release. Although God of War Ragnarok's about to come out. Next year we got Starfield, and eventually, for Xbox, and you got Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine for PlayStation 5, yada yada, Elder Scrolls 6, I'm sure Gears 6 and Forza, and I don't know, a bunch of other games, but yeah, for PlayStation and Xbox coming out, but yeah. So yeah, PS5 currently tracking ahead of the Series X and S after 23 months. I'm now looking at current gen versus 2 generations ago, current gen being, PS5 and Series X and S. We have PS5 versus the PS3. The PS5 is unsurprisingly tracking well ahead of the PS3. Now, obviously, you can see here, the gap grew to over 8 million, but then it shrunk, mainly due to shortages. Shortages have been a big issue for the PS5, but the gap has grown back over 8 million, and the PS5 is currently about 8.4 million ahead of the PS3 launch aligned. And the PS3 did not reach current PS5 sales until 11 months from now. So the PS5 is currently 11 months, nearly a year ahead of where the PS3 was. But yeah. And then we've got Series X and S versus the Xbox 360. Xbox 360 being the best-selling Xbox of all time. But the Xbox Series X and S is still tracking a decent amount ahead of the 360. After 23 months, it is over 5 million ahead, with about 5.25 million lead, and its lead has grown by a little over 2.5 million over the last 12 months. But yeah, 17 million sales for the Series X and S, 11.9 million for the 360. And the 360 did not reach current Series X and S sales until month 29, or 6 months away, which would be, I guess that'd be about March. Yeah, about March. But yeah, on the 360 ended up selling a little over 85 million units lifetime estimated because Microsoft stopped giving actual total sales figures, so we don't know exact lifetime sales for the 360. The last update they did give was 84 million, but it was available for another, I don't know, was it 2 or 3 years after that announcement? So yeah, PS5 tracking ahead of the PS3. Also tracking behind the PS4, but with stock shortages, eventually it will probably catch up at some point. And the Series X and S is tracking ahead of the 360, as well as the Xbox One, and which has been confirmed by Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella. Has announced the Xbox Series X and S has remained the fastest-selling Xbox console generation ever. Nadella, in his quote, "We've sold more Xbox Series X and Series S consoles live to date than any previous generation of Xbox, and with the Xbox Cloud Gaming, we're bringing games to entirely new endpoints. In the past year, we've made many of our most popular titles accessible on phones, tablets, TVs, and low-specs PCs for the first time. Our Xbox Game Pass subscription service now includes access to hundreds of games. And with our planned acquisition of Activision Blizzard, we aim to give players more choice to play great games wherever, whenever, and however they want. Choice is equally important to developers who we want to support with a diversity of distribution and business models for their games. We believe the acquisition will unlock opportunities for innovation and enable the industry to grow." So, yeah. Microsoft CEO has confirmed our estimates are showing Xbox Series X and S is tracking ahead of the Xbox One, Xbox 360, and original Xbox. And now however, there is one other little thing. Xbox Game Pass did miss internal growth target for the second straight year. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, a lot of his pay is based on performance. And for him to get his bonus for Game Pass, Microsoft set a target of 72% growth in 2022 fiscal year, which seems quite large. They missed it by quite a bit. I mean, Xbox Game Pass did grow, but it only grew by 28% versus they were hoping for was 72%. And the year before that, they were hoping Game Pass to grow almost 48%, but it grew about 37.5% instead. But the year before that, they did beat their targets with Xbox Game Pass growing 85.7% compared to a target of 71%. Right. And in a new interview posted today, I believe, Phil Spencer. I know he's been doing the rounds with a lot of interviews over the last week or so. An interview with Same Brain on YouTube. He did admit that, yes, it has been too long since Xbox last released a big, keyword being big, first-party game. Last year, we did see in November and December, Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite. But this year, there hasn't really been any big releases. Yeah, there's been some smaller first-party releases on Xbox, but nothing big has come out this year. And it's looking like it's going to remain the same. Although next year, we should see the release of Starfield, which should definitely be potentially their biggest first-party release. Even though it is a new IP, it is from Bethesda, Elder Scrolls and Fallout developers. But yeah, Spencer, in the interview, said one thing we've definitely heard loud and clear is it's been too long since we've shipped what people would say is a big first-party game. We can have our excuses with COVID and other things, but in the end, I know people invest in our platform and they want to have great games. We're excited about 2023, and we've talked about games that are coming. Those games are tracking well, and we're out of what COVID did to the production schedule. And as an industry, we have fewer games this holiday than we've had in a while. When you just think about launches, Call of Duty is coming. God of War is coming. PlayStation 5 and 4 title. God of War Ragnarok, which is great. Nintendo's had a good year. Nintendo also has Pokemon Scarlet and Violet coming out later in November. But in general, I would say we've been a little light. I would say very light personally, but but I look at 2023 and there's a great lineup of games coming that I'm excited about. Getting our first real Xbox first-party games out of Bethesda, having them ship with Redfall and Starfield will be a lot of fun. He also said in the same interview that Xbox team is working on a big update for the Xbox app on PC, which should be out in the next few weeks. If anyone has used the Xbox app on PC knows it is lacking a lot of features, but they have been slowly improving it, even though there's still a lot more is needed to make it much better. Because I remember how bad it was. Even if it is better than it used to be, there's still a long way to go for it to come anywhere near the leading digital platform on PC, Steam. Other gaming news, we have Electronic Arts today has announced they've signed a deal with Marvel to develop at least 3 new action-adventure video games based on Marvel characters that will release for consoles and PC. First Marvel game being developed by EA is based on Iron Man. It was announced in September of this year. It is in development by Dead Space remake developer Motive. It is a single-player, third-person action-adventure game. EA also did not share any details on what the other 2 Marvel games are. Now, this deal being recently signed, the Iron Man game just being recently announced, and with Motive being focused on finishing up the Dead Space remake, these 3 games are probably 3, 4, 5, 6 years away. So we probably won't be seeing these games until 2025 or later. And also, they have also signed and worked a deal out with Lucasfilms, also owned by Disney. Marvel's owned by Disney. Lucasfilm is owned by Disney. Okay, a lot of stuff is owned by Disney, isn't it? But anyways, they are also working on Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which is coming out next year for PS5, Series X and S, and PC. And a few more things. Square Enix. It is critical to produce titles that speak to the global market. Yeah, this is interesting, because earlier this year, Square Enix announced that they have sold basically their Western developers, Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal, to Embracer Group. Those studios best known for, Tomb Raider and Deus Ex. And I guess recently, the Marvel's Avengers game, which didn't do very well, and the Guardians of the Galaxy game, which also didn't do that well. So yeah, interesting enough, direct quote from the Square Enix president and representative director, Yosuke Matsuda? I probably mispronounced that name. If anyone knows me, then you're not surprised by that. But yeah, his quote, achieving major growth in the game industry is difficult now for companies that compete primarily in the Japanese market, given its graying demographics. As such, it is critical for our business that we produce hit titles that speak to the global market, which offers greater scale in terms of both customers and sales volumes. Now, I'm trying to think what they have upcoming. Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 and Final Fantasy 16 are the 2 big ones, and they're both coming out for PlayStation 5 only, possibly PC later on. So, I don't know. And then they sold the Tomb Raider developer, and Tomb Raider is definitely a bigger Western hit than Final Fantasy, I'm fairly certain. So, it's interesting. It just seems kind of ironic that they're saying this after they sold their Western developers. But they do get into it. But yeah. Furthermore, game development efforts are becoming more sizable and sophisticated as the result of technological advancements and the devices on which they are placed, such as consoles or smart devices. The investment required to develop game titles is therefore an order of magnitude greater than in the past. In other words, the Japanese market is no longer sufficient for achieving a level of earnings that enables us to recoup our development investment and generate a profit. And we therefore need to approach our development efforts based on the assumption that we have to succeed in the global market. Another change is how easily accessible information on games has become for our customers. We find ourselves in a world where social media spreads information instantaneously, enabling customers the world over to simultaneously obtain the information on games through a variety of different devices and outlets. For our group to better focus on developing titles for the global market, in the changing environment, we need to concentrate our limited resources on the development of strong and robust titles. We need to enhance our presence in the global market by quickly establishing an organizational structure that enables us to consider roll out high-quality content produced through selective and focused resource allocation, which requires the revamping of our title and studio portfolio. And Square Enix also mentioned its sell-off of its Western studios. These studios focus on the development of major titles which presented the risk of a serious cannibalization of our group's financial resources over the medium to long term. This is why Square Enix decided to sell off the studios. Basically saying, yes, they are more Western-oriented, but the amount of cost it is to develop the games, the more it hurts them. Financially, potentially, it's a bigger risk, is what they're saying. Although they did have them, instead of making new Deus Ex and new Tomb Raider games, they did have them create 2 Marvel-based games, which underperformed. Square Enix's expectations. And Square Enix also, in its 2022 annual report, revealed some sales figures. The Final Fantasy series has now topped 103 million units in global package shipments and digital sales combined. So you can say 173 million units shipped, as well as digital sales of their games. And the Dragon Quest series has topped 85 million units, and Kingdom Hearts has topped 36 million units. And all the versions of Final Fantasy have combined to sell 13.9 million units to date. And then a couple other things. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 has set a record for the franchise for the biggest PlayStation Store launch ever for a Call of Duty game. Tweeted by the official PlayStation Twitter account very earlier today, 3 a.m. 3 a.m. Will be New York time, or Easter daytime. So, yeah. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 again. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is now available on PS5, Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Pretty much everything but the Switch. And one last little bit. Platinum Games Vice President Hideki Kamiya? In a new interview, basically said he and Platinum Games are forever indebted to Nintendo for Bayonetta 3, because if it wasn't for Nintendo support, helping fund it as well, the game would have never happened. So, yeah. I wanted to keep this quick, and I think I did for actually an actual short game news roundup. So, again, if you enjoy this series, be sure to hit the like button, be sure to subscribe, and, yeah, thank you so much for watching.